Hey everybody! Today I finally get to unbox my Herelink controller unit and the associated air unit that I purchased a couple weeks ago. They've been sitting behind me for a couple weeks, just haven't had the time to get to them, but I'm super pumped that today I finally get to open this stuff up and start to explore it and figure out how to set up this platform to be able to control my drone. Wanted to give a huge shout out and thank you to a channel out there called Painless 360. I've been watching his video, and it was in conjunction with 3DXR, and they have published a great set of information, about an hour-long tutorial on how to set this thing up start to finish. So I've been able to watch that. I've been through the CubePilot documentation as well on this unit, and I think I have a good understanding, but today I'm going to try and actually put it all in practice and unbox this thing, connect it to the Wi-Fi, update firmware, bind it with the air unit, and see what it all does. So if you want to follow along and watch me as I explore this platform, come on over to the bench with me and we'll get started. Okay, so this is the Herelink controller unit that I have. I have already charged it, but I have not done anything else to it. So inside the box, you get your controller, the unidirectional antenna, some thumb screws, and the omnidirectional antenna. At the bottom of the box, they also gave me a USB cable, and that's really it that's in this box. So I'm going to set that aside. Now, from what I understand, the omnidirectional antenna goes in this top left port, and it looks like you just kind of find out where it'll attach. And then I believe you just rotate it, rotating it clockwise, and differently. It's not really attaching yet. Let's try this one. Ah, there we go. They're kind of spring loaded, so I had to push, or they feel spring loaded. I had to actually push it in and then rotate it clockwise. And then that let me attach it. Okay. Alright, so these look attached now. And then these thumb screws just screw into the top here. And that's the assembled unit. So I'm going to power it on for the first time here. Actually, let me take off the screen cover so we can get a better view of it. And I'm just going to hold the power button and we'll see what happens. Let me adjust this lighting so we can read this a little better. Alright, so it's telling me we need to update the device. And so you need to connect it to a 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi network. I've saw in some of the YouTube videos that is a must, because these antennas, one of them actually broadcasts over 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi, or 2.4 gigahertz frequency. So if you're using a 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi network, you can't use that to actually connect your Wi-Fi. So I have it set at US. I'm going to hit proceed. Well, where do you connect it to the Wi-Fi? Okay, I guess if I pull down on the top, you get these extra settings, and there is Wi-Fi. So we'll see the Wi-Fi networks available. And there is my home Wi-Fi. And I'm going to go ahead and put the password in real quick. Let me back that out real quick while I type it in. Okay. Now we're connected. Okay. Not sure if you can see that. It's showing connected in there. So we'll go back. And we're going to go ahead and proceed with updating the device. So it's asking me to register. So there's supposed to be a product key on the back of the device. Yeah, it's actually get the product key, and you have to scratch it off to get it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick and get a copy of that so I can plug it in. So everybody, I have never done this before, so you're seeing it for the first time with me. Alright, I got a product key entered, and I'm going to go ahead and press that register button. Okay, and what it is, it took that key and then just went right to a system update is available. So current version FRU01221123, and the latest version is RU01240301. Let's go ahead and hit update. So right now it's just running through downloading update package. This looks like it's going to take a while. 1% done. %2 done. Yeah, so we'll go ahead and just let this finish. And I'm going to fast forward this part of the video when we edit this thing, and we'll pick up when it's done. Okay, let this thing sit for a few hours, and it apparently finished updating and is sitting at this screen where it's asking me for what to choose for my home app. So I'm going to follow the YouTube guides that I have seen online that say to pick the Herelink launcher. So we'll select that. Just going to say always. And there we are. We have a home screen where you can select ground control, Solex, and mission planner. Okay, now that we have our Herelink booted up and are at the launcher screen, next step from what I understand is to calibrate the joysticks. So if you pull down the top, you'll have the Herelink status screen showing up here. And if you touch it, you'll be brought into the Herelink configuration screen. From what I understand, you go to joystick, and we're going to pick S-Bus out calibration, and we're going to follow the instructions by this little black box. They're telling me which controller to move where. So I'll move that one down, up, right, left, and then this one down, up, right, and left. And now it's asking for the wheel at the top. So calibration finished and it's saved. The other thing I saw in the video from Painless 360 is that he moved the channel for the wheel at the top from top to bottom, or from channel 5 to channel 16. And so I'm going to go ahead and do that because he says flight mode is by default on channel 5. So looks like you just kind of slide that and it'll move all the way to channel 16. And it looks like we press save, and I believe the joystick calibration is complete. I'll come back in a minute with some of the next steps. Okay, I was just reading through the documentation a little bit more and found 2 more settings that I might be interested in, but wanted to show them real quick. First one, if you drag down from the top, there's a slider. If you drag it down more, where you can control the brightness of the screen. Just slide that left to right, and you can go from brighter to dimmer if needed. So that looked pretty useful. And then the other one that I wanted to make a note of, I'm not sure if anybody will need it or not, but is the wheel setting. So if you go into your radio settings again, and you get to your joystick tab, you can see when I move the wheel right, the inputs show going to the left. When I move it to the left, the inputs show going to the right. And you can also see in the bottom right that when I release the wheel, it goes back to the center. Look at channel 16 down there. One setting you can change if you were to use this for like a camera for for example, is you can check this wheel ACC setting down in the lower right and press save. Now when you move the wheel, it will, and you release, and I just let go, it will stick, and you have to actually move the wheel in the other direction to get that output to move. So this might be good for pan or tilt on a camera. And the other thing you could do if you want to move it right and have the setting go up, there is a reverse switch right next to each one of these inputs. So I can click that little toggle right here. You can see it went to the green. I hit save. Now if I move my wheel on the top here, if I move it right, if I go right, you can see it's going up on the lower channel 16 in the lower right, but it was moving the other way on the actual input. So it allows you to reverse the channel, right? So if I go left with it, the lower right channel 16, you can see it going down. Move it to the right, you can see it going up. So I think I'll leave it at that, and we'll figure out when we attach a camera how to actually make this thing work with the camera, but wanted to show that real quick as well. Okay, now we're going to unbox the air unit, which is the component that goes in the drone and communicates information from the flight controller back to the controller in the ground station. So here's the air unit box. We'll go ahead and pull the pieces out. We'll take a look at these. So it comes with the air unit itself, which has a power port for 7 to 12 volts, a micro USB connection, a pairing switch, a couple LEDs, the UART connection and S-Bus connection back to the CubePilot. And then on this side, we've got a couple HDMI inputs, and on the back we have a micro SD card slot and ports for a couple antennas. Also in the box are the antennas themselves. And it comes with a fan Looks like mounting screws for the fan and other components. Comes with a full wiring kit, which was nice. I already opened this and looked at it. But it was nice. All the wires are labeled and stuff too, right? They got a piece of tape label on them that says what each one's for. So here's the power cable, for example. And here is an S-bus connection. Go ahead and lay these out real quick. And here's the UART connection for the serial data. Okay. Also in the air unit box looks to be a micro HDMI cable, which I should be able to connect this to my Raspberry Pi and feed a video input into it. Some nylon washers for the fan, and then I'm not quite sure what this bottom plate is. I think it's so that I can mount the air unit to a frame, but I'm not positive on that. Looks like there's spots for 4 small screws, so you can screw that to the bottom, and then you get 2 tabs on the side where you can actually screw this to something. Okay. So those are the components that came with the air unit. And the other piece that I have is an upgraded antenna kit from Airbot that I'm going to actually try and use these when I connect to the drone. So what it does give us is antennas that I think I can mount maybe a little bit more easily, and it also gives you a pivot point where you can bend these antennas up to 90 degrees, whereas these are a little bit more flat, and I think I'll need to get some mounts. Not sure what I'm actually going to use yet, but I got both options, so it'll allow me to figure out which is best. Today, when I set up the air unit though, I'm going to end up using the antennas that came with the air unit themselves, and we'll try these upgraded antennas later. Okay. So next step I'm going to do here is connect the fan to the air unit, and I'll connect that bottom plate and screw all that together, and then we'll power it up for the first time and bind it to the controller. I'll be back in a second as I lay out the parts so that we can start to put this together. Okay, now we're going to assemble this air unit. So I actually decided I am going to use my new Airbot antennas and try those out. I think I'll just be able to mount these a little bit easier to the drone, and they're a little smaller, so hopefully they take up less space in wherever I need to mount them to. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the antenna cords, and these appear just to snap in to the ports on the side, so I'm just going to plug them in like that, and just a light push is getting them in there. Okay, and they rotate and so forth. And I'm going to go ahead and mount this bottom plate as well. There's 4 tiny screws in the bottom of it that attach to 4 tiny screws in the bottom of the air unit, or holes. And you want the recessed side facing out of these little screws, so that way these little tiny guys over here will sit in there nicely, and you'll have a nice flat bottom. So I'm just going to take these 4 screws, and hopefully I can get it lined up right. Take all 4 of those, Okay. And to the antennas themselves, they just screw to the other end of each cable. I don't see anything on them that says if it's for one side or the other. So I'm assuming they're interchangeable and they can go to either side. There's no special pairing or anything there that needs to happen. And what's kind of nice on these upgraded cables, at least, it looks like there's a nut that I can use to, and if I back this off, I can use these nuts here. So the thought is I might be able to run that up through the top of the drone frame or to the bottom maybe, and it'll come out the bottom, and then I'll be able to screw the antenna straight to it there. So I'm not sure yet. The actual Herelink antennas themselves, they ask that you mount, I believe, in about a 45-degree angle away from each other. So they say usually attaching them to the legs of the drone is a good idea. I'll have to figure all that out and test that later when I actually start mounting things to the frame. Okay, last step is this fan, and I can say this is a pain in the butt. This is the second time filming this video because of this fan, and I actually ended up breaking a little piece. I'm gonna have to order a new one, but the way the fan works, they make it look really easy online on YouTube, about a 2-minute video. There are these little holes in the top, and you're gonna grab one of these longer screws that come with the kit and a nylon washer, and you're gonna put it in there, slide the screw in the hole in the top, push the washer down. Okay, you're gonna do that with all 4 screws, and this is the problem I kept having over and over and over, where everything was just popping out. These screws are tiny, the washers are tiny, and it's really hard to do when you have bigger fingers. Okay, so screw 1 is in, screw 2 is sitting in there. I'll push these washers down a little bit. Hopefully it'll hold it tighter. I was having a heck of a time even just getting the fan to line up and go down straight. I don't know if I'm doing something wrong or what. The online video made it look too easy, and I seem to really be struggling here. Okay. And then I'm gonna put this with the Herelink logo up, and the trick is to slide it onto all 4 of these screws without knocking them all out of the air unit. Okay. And then this is where I really struggled. These little nuts and washers, I just couldn't hold them, and I kept dropping them. So just like that. So I'm using a pair of tweezers here. There's 2 of them on there. 3. And I'm gonna do washer number 4. Okay. And then the last step is to grab these little nuts and actually twist them on. You can see I just dropped one in there. So this is what I did about 15 times. I kept dropping them and had to shake it out, and then I would end up knocking the whole fan off. Dropped a second one in there. This is killing me. Probably be easier if I had a nut driver this side where I could do this a little bit more effectively, but I don't. Oh my gosh, I just dropped 3 of them in there. Okay, so I got 2 of them on there, and I dropped 3 nuts in there. And I was able to shake them out. And this is the part, no matter what I was doing, however tight I was making this, the fan kept popping off and it was driving me nuts. So I still don't believe I'm even going to get it right here, but we'll try. Okay, and then lastly, I'm just using some pliers to try and tighten it down because I don't have a nut driver. Yeah, so I don't know, it just popped out again. I'm not doing something right, or I'm over tightening it or something. I'll try and back that off really quick and see if I can slide it back in. Okay. I'm not confident that's going to stay, but it is what it is for right now. Okay. And then, I'm just going to make sure this fan rotates freely for right now. Looks like it is and isn't hitting anything. And so, if I take my power supply here, and this is just a benchtop power supply. I got it set at 9 volts right now. I'm going to go ahead and try and power this fan up and just see if it spins. Whoops, the wire came off. Got some alligator clips. And no, it's not spinning. There it goes. Okay, so it's spinning. Shut that off for now. I also have these MicroSD cards. I'm gonna go ahead and put that in the air unit as well. So I bought two 64 gigabyte MicroSD cards, one for the air unit and one for the actual controller. So if we pop that out, throw the rest of this away. It just goes in this side here. And pushes in. And while I'm at it, I'm going to throw the other 64 gig card in the controller. goes in the bottom here. So peel that away, and it looks like maybe it goes in. Nope, it goes in the other way. Okay, so both those MicroSD cards in. All right, in the next video, or next segment that is, I'll power this all up and bind the air unit to the radio and see if they are successfully talking. We take a quick break and I'll be right back. Okay, last step here to pair the air unit with the controller. So what you're going to need is you're going to need the power cable from the bag that came with your air unit, some sort of pin or small item that you can use to push the pairing button on the side here. Okay, and you're going to need a way to power it. So I have a benchtop power supply. Let's see this here. All right, I can turn it on, and ultimately you might just want your batteries for your unit if you buy all this at a later date, but you know, I can adjust the voltage and so forth of this thing and set it wherever I need it. So I'm going to set it at 9 volts for right now. This thing takes between 7 and 12 volts. So we'll see how that does. And I also got, banana plug leads to alligator clip cables that I can use just to kind of connect anything and power it up. So let me get this thing set to 9 volts. All right, take your power cable and we are going to plug it into the power connection here. Looks like red is going to be on my right. Okay, so that just snaps in. I'm gonna go ahead and get my alligator leads connected for right now. Okay, check all his connections. I'm gonna go ahead and power it up. So on this, it flashed a little LED on the side for a second here. I think it takes a minute to power up. There you go. The LED 2 is now lit up with a little bit of a green light. I'm gonna try not to move it around too much because I don't want these alligator clips to slip off and something to short out. So I believe the next step is just to open up your controller. You're gonna pull down the top and let's see if I can get this to show. I'm gonna click on your radio status, and if you click on the air unit tab, actually, let me double check here. Actually, go to your radio tab, I believe, first. And we're going to hit this pair button. And it's waiting for me now to press the pair button on the air unit. So I'm going to go ahead and click that. Maybe I need to hold it. I think it's doing something because it's now showing there's an uplink and signal strength. And if I go to the air unit tab, I now see an online and a local version. And so what I want to do, I'm going to just reboot this air unit real quick. I'm going to kill my power and see if it comes back to life okay. So it's now showing no uplink. It's just saying it's paired. Interesting. Corrupted SanDisk card from that card I entered in the last one. I'm gonna, it says tap to fix, but let's see what this does. Erase and format. Taking a little detour here. Okay, looks like the card is now ready for whatever that does. Okay, there appears to be no uplink at this point. If I power this back on, the hope is it automatically reestablish its connection. There we go. Now I'm not sure if there's any firmware updates. It doesn't look like there is any. So I'm going to assume it's got the latest version for right now. I might have to look into that and make sure it truly does. It's a frequency tab. Yep. Looks like it's all connected. Now, one thing I'm curious about is this remote ID option. I could not figure out if it was built into the Herelink or if I had to buy the remote ID device. So I'm going to turn it on here, enable our ID, and then I'm not sure if I use the app drone scanner on my phone if I will start to see it. We'll see here. Turning on drone scanner. Doesn't seem to be finding anything right now. Yeah, still nothing showing up. I am not sure how to actually get this to work. If it needs a device that broadcasts remote ID in addition to the air unit, or if it's just supposed to do it. I mean, for remote ID you need Wi-Fi and Bluetooth from what I understand. And I don't think this thing has Bluetooth on it, so I'm not sure how exactly it would work. So yeah, I don't know. Just for the heck of it, I'm going to try and reboot the air unit one more time. Oh, actually, that's interesting. There's a red warning in the lower right corner now. I don't know what that's telling me. Set to emergency, set to text. No clue what that's telling me. So anyway, I'm going to try and restart this air unit one more time. See if any remote ID starts broadcasting. If not, I'm going to guess I need a remote ID device. So it is reconnecting here. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything show up in Drone Scanner, so I think it's not broadcasting, or I need to go do some more research there. So I think that's where I'm going to wrap this video up today. We got it paired. We got this thing initially booted up and installed, and next step is going to be to try to get this connected to the Cube. Right, so my actual flight controller itself and the core carrier board, I'm going to have to do some wiring and figure out how we're going to attach everything together, and then we should be able to start broadcasting things like GPS signals and other telemetry back to the controller, and also connect the laptop and see it through Mission Planner there. So more to come as I pick this up next week. Bye bye.